Hello, welcome to Lopez Power Lopez review of The Karate Kid Part 2. Now, if you have seen my other review I made a couple days ago of the first Karate Kid movie, you'd know that it's probably one of my favorite movies of all time, in my opinion, my favorite martial arts movie. Not necessarily for the martial arts, just for the gold story that it has. Um, Now, after the success of the first Karate Kid movie spawned sequels. You have the Karate Kid Part 2, the Karate Kid Part 3, and the next Karate Kid, and then we have a remake in 2010. I'm probably going to talk about Karate Kid Part 3. I'll probably also talk about the next Karate Kid, and maybe talk about the 2010 remake. Now we're on to the Karate Kid Part 2. This one starts off with right after the first movie, actually. It's Miyagi and LaRusso in the parking lot, and Miyagi saves John Creasy from choking out one of his students. Now, John Creasy tries to fight Miyagi. Miyagi sidesteps, and he gets his hands busted by car windows. And of course, in this scene, we have the stupidest thing Daniel has ever said. The scene, Miyagi's about, "Oh, no mercy, you teach no mercy," and he just honks his nose. And Danny's like, "You could have killed him." He's like, "Yes, but why didn't you?" And I don't know, Miyagi gives some philosophical answer, but I think the logical answer is Miyagi doesn't have to go to jail. Miyagi doesn't have to have something on his conscience. Not right to kill anybody. Isn't that what Miyagi's... Isn't that... I don't know. That's just kind of a stupid question. But anyway, it cuts to 6 months later, and Miyagi finds out his father's dying and would like to see him. His father is really old. Miyagi's pretty old, and his dad must be pretty old too. His dad's dying in Okinawa, and Miyagi and Daniel, Daniel tags along, and Miyagi goes to Okinawa to visit his father. And in Okinawa, the reason why he left is because he started a feud with his best friend over a love interest they had, not with each other, but with the same girl. And it just starts conflict. The guy he has a feud with, Sato, Mr. Sato, is the head of this big trading company, and he owns a martial arts dojo, karate dojo, and he has this crazy student. The Karate Kid formula is there's a bad teacher, a bad student. Miyagi fights the bad teacher. The Karate Kid has to fight either Daniel or Hilary Swank, have to fight the bad student. All the Karate Kid movies have that, even the remake. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, the movie, I would say, is a worthy sequel. It really is a worthy sequel. Whether it's a great movie, I think, is up to debate. I personally don't think it's a great movie, but I think it's good enough. It has still a lot of great Miyagi philosophy. Sorry, a little pop up there. And it's got some pretty memorable moments, and it's got some deep moments. The only thing that's kind of distracting about it is Sato, the bad teacher in the movie. Miyagi, the guy that Miyagi has a feud with, sounds like the Cookie Monster. He sounds exactly like the Cookie Monster. When you hear this guy talk, close your eyes and you'll hear the Cookie Monster. He's like, "Miyagi, come and fight me." I mean, he sounds like the Cookie Monster. I'm not to sound mean on the actor. It's kind of distracting. Not really much to say about this movie. I mean, it does have a lot of memorable moments, especially with the drum movement. The scene with the crane, he has to hit the crane out of the way with the drum movement, and that's how he wins the day. Um, what's different about this Karate Kid movie, well, with the exception of the next Karate Kid also, is that the fight in this movie is a real fight, like a street fight, um, instead of a tournament. I think it's what gave John Avildsen to have Rocky in a street fight in Rocky 5. He's like, hey, we did a street fight in the Karate Kid movies. That'd be interesting to do it with Rocky. Oh, I'm serious. I think that's where he got it from. And yeah, it's again got some great philosophy. It got great moments where he's going, and then he breaks like six ice uh ice bricks in a row. It's like a great scene, actually one of the most memorable. And of course, you got the great song from Peter Cetera, "Glory of Love." That's a great song, probably one of my favorite songs. Probably I'd say out of all the Karate Kid movies, that this movie has the best song to accompany with it. Um, Yeah, and the ending fight is actually pretty good. It actually does. I think this one actually does have better martial arts than the first movie. But the story is just not as strong. Uh, there's a love interest kind of shoehorned into the movie. And then the next one, the, they just get, like usual. They just, I don't know. The love interest, I think, is just filled. Not between the genuine love interest is between Miyagi and I can't remember her name. I think it's no, that's Yukie's Daniel's love interest. I can't remember the love interest between the Miyagi, and I can't remember her name. But the love interest between Daniel and Yukie is very shoehorned in. If the movie would have been the same without it, the only reason they had it is so the guy can take her hostage, the bad guy, the bad student, so they would be able to fight. But other than that, she's really this romance could have been the same movie without it. Um, there's like this weird scene with tea, which cinematography and music that accompanies it is really good. But there's just kind of a not the romance I just don't find interesting. I don't find their chemistry that interesting. And also, even though this movie does have some philosophical moments, um, it's kind of when they're in once they're getting to Okinawa, you get like a lot of great Miyagi lines. But other than that, it's kind of short of great philosophy like the other movie was. Of the other movie, I mean, you got, balance and martial arts balance for life, You got a lot of these such wax on, wax off. You got a lot of these memorable stuff from Miyagi. In this movie, it's kind of lacking. But what makes this movie interesting is the feud between Miyagi and Sato. That movie, that's interesting. The bad student in this movie is very over the top. Very over the top. Um, I don't get why this guy. I mean, yeah, he ruins his honor by breaking some weird thing, but that helped him cheat people. But I don't know. I don't get how he ruined his honor. I don't know. This guy just I don't know why he has a bone to pick with Daniel, but he's a kind of a fun villain. In a way, I do like this villain that better than the last villain, Johnny. The one problem I had with the first Karate Kid villain movie is I thought Johnny, like I said, didn't have that much personality. Like Biff, not really that. I mean, he's memorable because he's in a memorable movie, but if he was in any other movie, just kind of be kind of bland. This villain is much more because he's kind of over the top and like he has this like really intense expressions. At least I think has more of an identity, and I would say easier to describe. This character a lot better than you do Johnny. Even though you don't really know why he has a bone to pick with Daniel. Like I said, the martial arts in this movie is actually, I think, a little better. Especially that last fight, I think they improved it. Of course, you get the great, like I said, I'm just repeating myself, but the drum scene. Um, And not really much I can say about this movie. I'd say it's a worthy sequel. I wouldn't call it a great movie. I'd say it's a good sequel. Um, I wouldn't call it one of the best sequels ever made, but it is. It's got enough strong moments to make me. I'm glad I like it. It's probably the best of the Karate Kid sequels. You know, three. Oh my God, I have a bone to pick with that movie because that movie just gets Karate Kid all wrong. But I'll talk about that in another video. I usually don't like to do negative reviews. I like to do more positive because I like to watch movies I like. And when I see some, I don't like to watch movies I don't like. But you know, I do watch Kid 3 quite often, but I digress. That's not what I'm talking about. The second movie. The second movie's great. I'd say, you know, it's got a great song to it. The story is interesting, especially between Miyagi and Sato. They make amends at the end of the movie. Also, we find out that Miyagi and Sato were taught by Miyagi's father. Miyagi's father only taught family members, but he made an exception because Miyagi and Sato are best friends. That part of the story is really interesting. Their relationship probably has the best arc. The strongest part of the movie is when they're preparing for, because this guy wants to fight Miyagi all the time, because he ruined his honor. This movie is like heavy on honor. And yeah, everybody's mad in this movie because of honor. But anyway, Miyagi wants to fight. Sato wants to fight Miyagi, and he pushes him so much to actually he threatens to tear down the village. um, so he has to fight him, and at that part of the movie where they're getting ready to fight, and the one of my favorite Miyagi's quote is actually in this movie. I'm talking like Miyagi quote. One of my favorite quotes in the movie is doesn't matter if I win or lose. Miyagi wins anyway because he saved village. And you know that's kind of a fun part about Miyagi. But that part of the movie is probably the strongest part of the movie when they're getting ready to fight. Of course, they don't fight because there's this hurricane. Um, and you know it's a good movie. It's got some strong parts. It's got some does have some weaknesses. It's not a great movie. I would call it a good movie. It is a tough act to follow for the Karate Kid. It's kind of cool to be in a different environment in this movie with Okinawa. I think it's kind of what they got the idea for the remake. You know, kind of have it in more of an Asian influence setting. Um, so yeah, it's got some parts. It's a very likable movie. Um, it's a very, I'd say it's a worthy sequel. It's very worthy of the Karate Kid. Whether the third one or even the fourth. The fourth one's, I don't know. I'd say the fourth one is technically a worse movie than the third movie, but I forgive it more than I do the third movie. But anyway, I'll talk about those later. The second one is probably by far, like I said, by far the best of the sequels. Is the second one? No, not the third one. The third one I think is actually the weakest, but the second one is by far the best of the Karate Kid sequels. Um, I recommend it. I give it about 7 out of 10, a B minus, 2.5 out of 4 stars. It's a likable movie, a worthy sequel, but just kind of falls far from the tree from the first movie. It's nowhere near as good as the first movie, but it is a good sequel, and it does further the story of Miyagi and Daniel. So yeah, I recommend this movie. That's all I have to say about it. It's not much. I'm probably, if I do the third one, I'm gonna have probably a big rant about it. But anyway, take care. God bless. See you next review. Power Lopez signing out.